Hello! This week's attending presentation, we are asked to create an incarnational translation of the text we have been working with. And my text is Luke chapter 8, 22 to 25. And I actually had a lot of fun with this assignment. So I hope that the creativity translates the way that I think it should. So my translation begins, one day the Manhattan tour guide said to his tour group, "Let's drive down to the other side of the city and see what we might find there today. You've never been there and the journey would be worthwhile." So the tour group eagerly took him up on the offer. They had spent a lot of time with the tour guide in the Upper West Side of the city and had always heard that there was a lot to discover in the Lower East Side, and it would be an entirely uncharted trip for them. And they were excited for the adventure because they knew wherever the tour guide would take them, they wouldn't want to miss it. They wouldn't want to miss out on this trip. However, there was one discrepancy about the trip down south. The tour guide asked them to drive the tour bus while he caught up on some emails on his phone. So the guide had directions on his phone and knew exactly what route they should take, but he wasn't showing them the directions because he needed to use his phone to check his email instead. So the group says that's fine. When they start the trip down south, they feel pretty confident. They're enjoying the view of the city around them, but as they drive further and further south, away from all that was familiar to them, they start to get pretty nervous driving their tour bus. Nothing looked familiar to them anymore. The traffic had picked up. It had become very intense. There were horns blaring in their ears. There were pedestrians weaving in and out of the cars. It was just a very, very dangerous position to be in when you don't know where you're going and you don't know where you're driving. The worst part of all, like I said, is that they had no idea where they were going. One of the women from the group at that point then turns quickly to the tour guide who's sitting in the back of the bus, checking his emails, and she says, excuse me, we could use a little help here. Why don't you get out of your emails and open up your map so we can figure out how in the world we're going to get out of this traffic?" Well, the tour guide immediately grabs the steering wheel of the bus and takes a sharp right-hand turn onto the nearest side street, and just like that, they had escaped the stampede of cars. No more were they hearing blaring horns. No more were they being pressed in on every side by all these cars. There were no more pedestrians surrounding them. There was only the open road in front of them with signs pointing in every direction that they needed to go. It was very clear at this point. So the tour guide finally asked them, "What did you expect would happen? Did you have no confidence in my tour abilities?" Well, the group began looking around at each other in disbelief. Were they really on a safe journey? Who is this tour guide that he could escape the concrete jungle of Manhattan with just one simple motion? So the retelling of this passage in this way would totally resonate with the folks in my congregation. We live just outside of Washington, D.C., and many of them work in the district and have to drive in and out of that area every day. And so this scene, this concrete jungle of traffic and noise and stress, is really a daily occurrence for them. So they would have a deep appreciation for how impossible it would be to calm this kind of storm and to get out of it quickly and easily. They would understand how easy it would feel for someone who's not familiar driving in that area, faced with this kind of scene, to immediately doubt the ability of the tour guide. Did they really know what they were doing? What had they gotten them into, you know? So surely he doesn't know where he's going. That's what they're thinking. Or he would tell them otherwise. And in that moment, when the guide immediately takes over and gets them to a clear road, there is no one else in the world that could have done something like that. And their faith in the tour guide is immediately restored at the sight of this miracle, this traffic miracle, as it would be. So that is my incarnational translation of Luke 8:22 to 25.